Welcome to this week's episode of Courageous Leaders Changing the World. Super excited for this week's guest, Caroline Bellenger. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Cody. Good to be here.
For those of the listeners who don't know who you are and what do you do?
So I'm Caroline Bellenger, leadership and wellbeing strategist and inspirational speaker. I wear many hats over the years, but I love wellbeing and I love leadership and I just love creating a positive environment for everyone.
Yeah. Yes, I'm all about the hats. I almost didn't bring my hat today, so that was interesting because it's part of my branding.
Yes.
And what's been one of the hats that you have resisted wearing the most then in life?
The hat or anything where someone tells me what to do. But I would say over the years, like in my journey when I became an entrepreneur, was probably sales.
Yeah.
Sales is the hat that I don't necessarily do very well.
Yeah.
I've had to do a lot of work in that area.
Yeah, interesting. It's, often people who get into business, they've got like the hats that they love to wear and the hats that they don't love to wear as well. And I think for me, mine's been marketing probably more than sales. I'm okay to do sales, but ironically, standing in front of a camera and like talking to camera, I can't do. That's why I do podcasts, so I can like have a conversation with people. And it's this interesting kind of journey of evolving what, like almost how we see ourselves as part of that as well. And when you said that you do like inspirational speaking, what's the primary thing that has driven you to step into that space?
Probably comes from my life. So I like sharing. I like sharing about my life. I'm a pretty open book. And only because I came from like childhood sexual abuse and that led to like 20 years of addiction, mental illness, suicide attempts. It was pretty shit. It was pretty fun too. Like I've had some great times in Bangkok and Melbourne and Gold Coast, party life. But it got pretty bad pretty quick. Or not quick, 20 years. So I think for me, it's understanding how hard life can be. And therefore I think it's that I just don't want anyone else to have to go through things I've been through, or if they're going through it, to give them some tools that can like make sure they're okay, they get through it.
What were some of the hardest times that you faced throughout that journey of addiction then?
I think it was the self-hatred. I think it gets that point where you're making a lot. I mean, I had great jobs. I was assistant manager at Flight Centre at Byron Bay. I worked at Commonwealth Bank. Had lots of really good jobs, but and I was one of those functional alcoholics. I don't know who comes up with some of these words really, because I wasn't really that functional. But, on the outside, I was probably the party girl, happy all the time, but just wore a mask. So I think it's that incongruence of knowing inside I was falling apart and having to keep up all those pretenses and those masks. I think, it was just that then constant change. Then I'd be constantly running away. I'd go Byron Bay, Melbourne, Bangkok, America, Melbourne, Gold Coast, Byron Bay. And it was just exhausting. It was just because there was one thing that kept coming with me, and that would be me. Yeah.
Yeah. I see a lot of similarities there for my journey. Like a lot of the times when I was functioning alcoholic, I remember this one time where I ran this webinar and I was selling people into this mindset program. And it was at a time where I was like depressed. I was like thinking about killing myself and working out ways that I could do it that it wouldn't look like a suicide. And selling people into, I'm on this webinar, and it was back when it was like pre-Zoom days.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pre-Zoom days. So they can't actually see. I'm on this platform called Webinar Jam. So no one can see you, but I'm drinking a bottle of wine while I'm, enrolling all of these people into changing their lives. Irony at its finest. And I finished the first bottle of wine and I'm like, oh, well, I'm only about a quarter of the way through, so I better start the next bottle. And then then I finished that bottle. And by the end of it, I was like 3 bottles deep while like running this webinar saying, we're going to change your life. And I didn't see the absurdity in that for a long time afterwards. Well, I kind of did a little bit afterwards because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to run this anymore. I'm just going to refund the people. But I was functioning, making lots of money, doing all of the things that people would deem as successful. I'm speaking all over the country. I'm doing all of these things. But although society says I was functioning, I was a long way from fulfilled. I was a long way from living the life that actually lit me up. What was your experience that you went through to be able to shift from that functioning addict to living the life that you wanted?
Yeah, so that would be when I came back from the States. I moved to Melbourne, and then I found out I was 5 months pregnant. We won't go how that. Anyway, I found out, and I always thought that I never wanted to be a mother. I was 32, and my meaning for that was no child would want me as a parent. I would make the worst parent in the world, all that self-hatred stuff. Anyway, so I went through counselling for adoption as well when I found out. And then I ended up keeping my son. We have a little saying, which is he was a little spirit in the sky, and he looked down and went, oh, my God, that woman's fucked. I better go help her. So that was sort of the start of the turning point. I didn't get sober for another 7 years, but I think it was then having responsibility for someone else, and he was like the perfect child. The universe was very good to me in that aspect. He wasn't hard. So eventually I think it was just that, like I didn't have a rock bottom because I was probably better then than I had been. But like you, my water bottle was always filled with vodka. So I'd be doing nippers. Hey, I'm so fit. I was even doing my bronze training before I went to rehab, but drinking vodka in between paddling in the board. So yeah, and to think that no one, it's not, that whole thing when you're a drinker. I look at this now and I go, oh, it doesn't matter if I have 6 vodkas, no one will know because you can't smell it on my breath. But seriously, pretty sure people could tell I was drunk.
Yeah.
So that was more around him, I think. And then, like I said, so then I got myself off and did 6 months residential rehab. Was the big turning point.
Cool. What's your relationship with spirituality in the universe then?
I'm very much energy. I was a Catholic, ex-Catholic. I do go to Christmas Mass for the carols every year with my mum. And then I lived in Thailand, so I had a lot of Buddhist. I'm one of these people with anything in life, and religion and spirituality is one of them. I don't know. Is there a God? I don't know. Is there something bigger than us? I don't know. But I like looking at the good things from all of them and go, oh, I like that bit of the Hindu, and I like that bit from the Buddhism, and I like that bit from the Catholics, and then bring it into just this energetic, what you put out. So I struggle with that sometimes because I go I don't know why I've got so many shit things when I feel like I put out a lot of good stuff. That's an interesting twist on the whole spirituality. But I do a lot of Esther Hicks stuff, so I can go really woo-woo, but I'm very science-based, so that's why I like to call it energy, because then in my head I can have that scientific rationalisation that it exists.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a common experience for so many different people, especially with, all of the pain and turmoil that has occurred throughout people's experience with religions. It's this interesting thing in terms of I think about my journey, my spiritual journey sometimes. I remember I stopped seeing a girl because she was too spiritual because she took me to a sound healing thing, which is this is
common now, isn't it?
But I've got sound healing bowls in my house now. So it's the journey that I went on. I remember I was seeing her and she's takes me to this thing and I'm like, oh, she's a little bit spiritual. In my mind, I'm like, I can either go back and do another bodybuilding competition or I can date this spiritual chick. And I'm like, my identity is more wrapped up in this bodybuilding thing right now. So I'm just going to say thanks, but no thanks. And, I went on my personal development journey. So I think it must have been in Landmark or something. had to go and have the conversation with her and say,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I did all of the things to you. I broke up with you because you're too spiritual, and hey, presto, now I'm spiritual.
Yeah, I know, the full circle. I suppose came at the right time, though.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, and then the bodybuilding's interesting. See that fact, because I was in the fitness industry. Obviously, I had my gym. It was my first sober entrepreneurial part.
Yeah.
So that whole fitness. But yeah, I think spirituality is really interesting. It's so individual. And same, there's a part of me that just goes, I don't know, I might drop dead tomorrow and there's nothing. End of story. There is no, you know, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. So a lot of my journey came through like the fitness industry as well. So it was like when I first started out in the fitness industry, I was still very much in my party era. So I'd be going out every weekend, taking lots of drugs, doing all of these things. And you're meant to be a picture of health, but then you go from that as you're functioning there, using drugs and alcohol on the weekend, doing all of those things. But then you become a PT, and then you start doing that with using the way that you function is to starve yourself to be able to look good on stage. And it was this interesting thing that I didn't recognize it at the time, that all I'd done was changed one thing that was less functioning for something that perceivably was a little bit more functioning. And then it shifted more into, from that, it became work. And that was like the experience that I started to get to when I'm like thinking about ways that I can end my life without it looking like a suicide, because I just shifted the thing. I just changed the covering to it all. I changed the mask that I was wearing. I changed all of those little pieces so that I could still avoid what was going on for me. And it's interesting to look at in hindsight, but when you're in it, you're just so blinded by it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's, similar to what I was saying. I moved around. I physically moved around every year or two just to try and change.
Yeah.
And then I realised that nothing's changing, and same, like whether it was a new job, a new career, and for a while it works until it doesn't.
Yep. Yeah, it's holiday is great until you come home from the holiday.
Yeah.
What's been your journey with that dance within that self-hatred? You've mentioned that a few times. What's been your relationship with that?
I think it stems from the childhood sexual abuse. So obviously that trauma for me, I never really I got counselling during my addiction days, and it wasn't until I went to rehab that I probably processed that side of it a lot more. So there was all this mixed, what's love, sex and love. Then I'd have relationships that weren't healthy, which would just reinforce everything. So yeah, at the core of my self-hatred was I'm not lovable. And I think that obviously having a child, I know you've recently had your second, that I think that changes you in that sense of love as well, that it's not necessarily in a relationship as such, that love comes in many ways. And I think being a mum, like I said, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't know that I've been the role model of a mum, like where we have a funny relationship, because it's always like to my son, I'm like, oh, that's right, I'm the adult. Okay, all right, we'll go back to this conversation. But I think one of the big things that, even I've been sober 16 years now, so it's been a journey, and I've had lots of shitty things happen in that time as well. Sober, which sometimes I go, oh my God, it was actually easier when I was in addiction. Like sober drama and sober challenges are really hard. And they've brought me to my knees at times. It's only because I've got skills to get through it. But I would say the challenges in some ways have been 10 times harder. And as I've got to this point now, I think the most freedom I've got was accepting that I'm not perfect. I don't have to be perfect. And I actually don't even fucking want to be perfect. I just want to be me. I just want to go, okay, yeah, I'm not so great on directions or Google Maps. Sales isn't my favourite thing to do. I don't like this. I'm a bit overreactive and emotional at times. But rather than changing that, I just go, okay, I could do some of those a little bit better,
Mm.
but I don't need to change. I'm okay accepting this is me, flaws and all. And I feel like, and accountable for action. Like when I do muck up, I'm really good on going, okay, that was my fault. And I think that's where that self-love comes from, because that's that raw honesty with yourself, good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. There's an interesting thing that kind of plays out. Have you heard of the ACE studies?
No.
So it's basically this test that you can do. It's called Adverse Childhood Events. And you basically get a score. And what they did was they determined that people who'd had some level of violence, domestic violence, verbal abuse, or sexual interference, or any of those things that occurred in their childhood, they determined the likelihood of those people in adulthood that would either become an addict or incarcerated. And they did all of these studies to determine the likelihood of that occurring. And I don't know if you've seen the video called Step in the Circle.
No.
So basically what happens is they've got the maximum security prison, and they've got all of these people that are in this big circle, and they basically say, all right, well, step into the circle if you've never been able to, if you have worried about money and your parents didn't have enough to pay the bills. Step in the circle if you've ever been sexually abused. Stand in the circle, and all these things. And the more that it happens is they recognize that all of these people that are incarcerated or had gone down the path of addiction, they've all got these experiences in their childhood that have started to create the capacity for that to be more likely. It's not
absolutely. Yeah. Then I've read, like I've done a bit in that space too. So yeah, the research on that's pretty solid as well.
Yeah.
But I think like the interesting thing for me, and I would say part of that is it's a bit like mental health. Yes, we talk about a little bit more. There's still stigma around it. Child sexual abuse, trauma, it's still a very uncomfortable subject for people. You know, and I remember getting an award, small business award in Sydney. And in my head, as I'm walking up to stage, I'm going, oh, there's 1,000 people in this room. So I started my speech with 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted as a child, because I want it to be a normal, comfortable conversation that we're having, because it won't change while it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this interesting thing. The more that we push conversations like this under the rug, the more it actually perpetuates it, and it starts to show up in shadowy ways, which actually perpetuates that component of it, which is an interesting dynamic that most people don't recognize. And because so many people are still in their pain of the experience, they can't zoom out beyond the pain to be able to see all of the dynamics at play, and it becomes easier for people to, lead to addictions and all of those things. And it requires a lot of, courage to be able to have those conversations, because obviously having those conversations allows us to actually meet ourselves on an even deeper level, which opens us up to the healing of it on an even deeper level. Shame is something which thrives in secrecy.
Yeah, that lower vibration of things. Yeah, and that's why I'm really big with all what I do, and I love building that trust where someone can talk about it. Because I know for me, like I feel really lucky, like being sober. Like I just go, oh my God, I'm the most blessed person in the world, because I also know the danger if I was to drink. Because people will often say, oh, would you ever have a drink? And I go, would I risk that? Yeah, no thanks. But I also know one of my triggers in feeling suicidal again, and which still comes and goes, or depressed and things like that, is when I hold stuff in. And the mere act of letting something out is, I'd say, 90% of the healing process.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that Gabor Mate says, it's not what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you. And as soon as you start to resist something, it creates this emotional charge which keeps that thing alive in your nervous system, which keeps it running, which has you keep running from that place of that energetic frequency as if that thing is still occurring.
Yes.
And the dynamics of trauma become important to be able to create spaces and places to be able to actually journey deeper into those things so that you can get to a new level of understanding of it and a new level of connection with yourself, which becomes so important, especially when people have been through those adverse childhood experiences, which, you know, the majority of people have. Most people have at least a score of 1 on that thing. They've at least got 1. Most people are like, oh, I had a great upbringing. And then you ask the questions and they're like, oh, well, this, and then this, and then this. Yeah. And yeah, there's the extreme of like having, you know, the full list of things. But one of the other pieces with trauma, because it's what happens inside of us, the greatest form of perceived trauma for people is neglect, which is like, my mum didn't pick me up fast enough.
And that's it. Like, that's why I say to people, like, you know, my trauma's quite on the high scale. I said, but that doesn't mean that my trauma now is any higher or lower than someone who their mother yelled at them one day in the kitchen. Because it's so individual, and whatever happened to that child that day could create more trauma than my 7 years of sexual abuse, because we're all so different.
Yeah. And it kind of comes back to those associations that we make, especially in those you know, the imprint phases. It's like whatever we see as an experience of what we perceive as love, then we associate that with love for the rest of our life. So some people associate yelling as love. Some people associate sexual abuse as love. Some people associate drinking as love, violence as love. All of these things which become connected in with love becomes this association that we create, which actually starts to create the capacity for us to create all of these layers of compensations and adaptations to be able to deal with life in that instance, which is why, you know, we've shifted from a society where it's more common to drink alcohol. Like, I don't know if you know, but now there is decreasing generationally. Each generation is drinking less alcohol than the previous one.
Yeah, my son, because he's 24 now, and like he'll go out to parties, and it's not that he doesn't drink. Like he'll go out in a bender too, but he'll go out. It's socially acceptable for them to go out and not drink. And I remember even when I gave up, oh my God, like everywhere I went, like I would be just quizzed as to why I wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
I did find just saying I'm an alcoholic was the easiest answer in the end.
That's the easy way. It's just like, I'm an alcoholic, so would you like to give me a drink?
And it's funny because I went out quite a few times. I tried to avoid going out for the first 2 years, but, you know, there were certain things I had to go to, and I'd just get hammered. Oh, come on, have one. Oh, come on, have one. And I didn't want to say too much, people who didn't know me that well. And then I remember once just going, I can't because I'm an alcoholic. And they went, oh. And I went, oh. They left me alone. And I went, oh, this is really good. I'm going to use this every time now.
Yeah.
But then what I found, I'd be out with all these drunk people and I go, yeah, no, I'm an alcoholic, can't drink. And then they'd sit there for like hours with their sob story of how they thought they were an alcoholic too. So it used to like turn into therapy. So again, though, that's that sharing. If you can share what's going on for you.
Yeah.
Like opens that door for someone else to feel like maybe they can.
Yeah. What's been your journey then with that going from making all of that wrong to getting to a level of acceptance of it all?
I think when I sometimes say when I turned 50, I think it's an age thing too. Because when I turned 50, my motto for the year was, I'm too old for this shit. So I really did stop caring as much what other people thought.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely comes from age and going, you know, but also I guess the personal development side of that is where am I going to spend my energy? You know, and I'm an Aries. So like even at the start of COVID, like I was good for an argument. And I could good to convince someone that my way is, I've always been good at convincing someone that my way is the right way. And over time I've realised, oh my God, I don't even have to do that. Because I don't care. Like I just go, like I really care about people, but I actually don't care in the sense of it's not up to me what you believe, or it's not up to me what you do. I can help you if you want help, or I can give you ideas. You take them, don't take them, totally up to you. And I think that's when I guess if you were going to analyse a little bit more, it would be letting go of the ego. I think when we let go of the ego, you don't have to do anything for anyone else. You do things because you want to do them. And I think that would be probably the biggest change.
Yeah, it's an interesting dance. I'm writing my next book, and there's an entire section on basically the war within. We're at war with ourselves at all points in time, based on what's playing out with our external reality. We think if we change the thing externally, then that's going to create changes for us. But it just means that, again, it's, as we said before, it's a different scenery, it's a new holiday, it's all of those things. When the reality is, when we can actually be with ourselves and accept what is in front of us, then we let go of that ego mind, which needs to control everything, which is us holding on so tightly to the things. And life just starts to flow through us. It permeates through us. It starts to lead us. We get divinely sent humans like your son in that instance. Yeah. And we start to see, feel, and get that life is very much set up for us to be able to create growth and to be able to experience growth and to be able to experience the experiences which are there for us. But all of our suffering is perpetuated and created through that egoic mind of resisting whatever is in front of us. And it's that journey. It's that journey from, the head to the heart of actually just getting to the heart of what's playing out for all of the experiences that we're in. Easy to say, but
look, and that's where I come back to. Like, I'm really good some days, other days I'm like a psychopathic mess.
Yes.
And I'll rant and rave but I think too, like I'm really, and then there comes into that hope side, because I love humans, like they fascinate me. Even someone who I think's a complete arsehole, I have a certain amount of fascination and curiosity as to why do they behave the way they behave.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, because I've gone through a few, workplace bullying, whistleblower, my recent franchise, complete fuck up. But anyway, that is what it is. So they've been really difficult situations. But what I've learned through all of that is people with, let's call them bad energy people, are actually far and few between. They create a lot of havoc if you let them. But I'm really hopeful, the world's good. Politicians, most of them have good intentions. They make dumb decisions, but they're just, like I say, in wars and all of that. Like, I'm very political, so I follow everything. And, I had a lot of people say to me, oh, but it's so negative, it's so fearful. And for me, I go like, well, no, not really, because I still have hope that we'll all work it out. I trust that humans will do something good. We have over the past. I said, and if we don't, we'll all be dead, and then the plants and animals will be happy. So, someone's going to have a happy ending. Might not be humans, but so be it.
Yeah.
Because that's that whole not living in fear of anything going wrong. Just go, well, it is what it is. Humans, that's why I say, like, every situation in the world, I go, what's the common denominator? Okay, humans, like the good and the bad, we intrinsically have behaviours that are human. And they're not always good. And that's okay, because that's how we are at this stage. We haven't quite evolved to another level yet.
Where do you think it's going with AI then, based on your opinion?
AI, fascinating. So I'm really techie.
Yeah.
Like I did my IT back somewhere along the line. And so I always loved tech, and, my Garmin's like lives on my wrist. And I do all my own website creation and all of that. So when AI came along, I was super excited. Another app, another software, I love the efficiency, but I'm also really a people person. So I have AI fatigue already when it comes to the polished pictures and the content. I mean, I use it for some things, but a good example of this is over Christmas, I reckon 20 women I knew uploaded a photo in a white jumpsuit in front of a Christmas tree. And I was just what the fuck are you doing? Just post yourself in front of a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
It's okay. So I think there's this, and I don't know whether it's just a fascination at the moment with doing all that stuff, but I personally think human connection is going to become even more valuable because a bit like COVID and the whole Zoom fatigue. And everyone was just sick of Zoom and exhausted by Zoom and just wanted real live events. And I think it's the same with, content on social media. Because it's at that point where honestly you are going, oh my God, is that real? Is that not real? Is that real? Is that not real? But there's always, to me, and I feel like because I'm very kinesthetic, I can always pick something about a facial expression on an AI. That's sus. So I think, it'll have its time and its place, and it's great for efficiency. If that means I can spend more time at the beach and outdoors doing exercise and having fun because AI is doing all my background things, awesome. But I don't think it will replace people, and I think will become more important.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. We've gone through this journey of social media and the recognition of how kind of antisocial it is. And we've been through this, what we're yearning for with social media is connection.
Yes.
We yearn to connect with people. And, that part, I think definitely part of what we talked about earlier in terms of the decreasing alcohol consumption is because we've got a different form of coping mechanism. Our coping mechanism is now scrolling because we've got a different form of addiction that doesn't create such negative external behavior. It creates an internal negative behavior. We don't go out and get drunk and then crash our car. We just guilt and shame ourselves and compare ourselves to everyone online. So it's a functional, another version of a functional addiction that we've started to journey. And the dynamic of that is really starting to shift and open up to recognize that if we're yearning for connection, then we go and get connection rather than doing it in the pseudo way of our phone and actually meeting people. And I think the more AI that we experience, the more that the world will start to move online and then also in person. Like more people crave that. Like as you're talking about with Zoom fatigue, I think it becomes even more amplified to be able to have those in-person experiences even more because of we've created this entire identity, this entire persona, this entire mask through what we portray of our phone. But when you meet someone in person, then it's like, that's who they are.
Yeah, but do you know what? And I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, and it's like this whole weird thing where some people are building these beautiful brands online. This is who I am, and this is what I do, and blah, 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 blah. And then you meet them, and it's a bit like a dating site, when you go, oh, he's hot, and then you have lunch, and it's just like, really? You're the same person? And I think that then there becomes that huge thing of mistrust in future experiences in that. And I think the more we have those experiences where it's not congruent, the more people are just going to go, I don't want to have anything, a bit like dating sites. Now they go run clubs. See, my son's generation, they do run clubs instead of dating apps.
Yep, there you go.
Because face-to-face.
Yeah.
Back to, I think in our day, back when it used to be you go to the pub to meet someone.
Yep.
Although when everyone was blind drunk, it's not necessarily a good idea either.
It's a different mask that people are wearing then.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's that dance between us putting that ego perfect version of us, or even I guess that imperfect version of us that is just still wearing a mask that we've got the capacity or the control to be able to keep it together, is the ongoing journey that we experience. It's this ongoing representation of us meeting ourselves on an even deeper level based on putting ourselves at where our edge is of how we see ourselves and getting that reflected back by other people. Like, you know, you're talking about your son earlier in terms of how he's been divinely sent for you. And, you know, I'm of the view that every single person is that person. Is every single person is the perfect reflection of you in that moment. It's the things that they're reflecting back to you of the things that are yet to be loved by you. And, you know, this becomes this view of the world that allows us to be able to actually start to be so present with what is there for us and what is alive for us, and get into that connection of actually have the, you know, the energy of the universe flowing through us rather than resisting it, creating that level of suffering, creating that level of resistance, that level of pain by holding on to the past or who we need to be seen as, or either any of those pieces. So with all of that, what do you see has been the core piece of you seeing yourself on an even deeper level? What do you think has been the core piece or the core tool with you in that?
I think, and again, like I like that, like people come into our life. I always believe that like people come into our life for the right reason, and that we have experiences to teach us whatever it is they're going to teach us if we're open to it.
Yeah.
Teaching us something. I think for me, it's, again, like, as I look back on my life and I just go, I'm so blessed to have had so many shitty experiences. But I've done a lot of mindset training. Exercise was obviously the biggest thing for me. Like I'm huge on that whole well-being side of prioritising and your well-being. Like when I was coaching for Aaron, you know, and I'd have like lots of different clients, very successful. But when they got me as a coach, like it was like, yeah, but are you going to the gym this week? What are you doing to look after yourself? I said, because all of that's shit if you don't have your health.
Yeah.
And there's so much power in resilience. When we talk about resilience, just exercising. So normally you'd get your resilience from your experiences because you've had to like claw your way out or of something. But you can also get resilience from pushing yourself physically. And so for me, doing triathlons, I think I've done a couple of like half Ironmans. Full Ironman at Kona is still on my bucket list. But when you're pushing your body physically to that level, you then get this mental resilience. And I think it's that mental resilience that then gives you the opportunity to just go, I can do this and I can do it my way. And I think that's really powerful way. So the exercise is probably my key to maintaining my sanity and being able to let go of anything that's not meant for me. I'll just go for a run.
Yeah.
We're shitty, cranky, things will be happening and I'll go, oh, I need to go for a run. And I'll come back at a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting journey with fitness and exercising. David Goggins obviously is the greatest proponent of it.
I saw him. He was fabulous.
Yeah.
And nothing like what I expected.
Yeah. There's kind of not really that ability to actually shortcut doing the reps and like doing the work and things.
No.
And we're kind of in that kind of push button society where we expect instantaneous shifts without doing the work. We have, you know, one of the, I think it's the 7 deadly sins is like sloth or laziness that we have within us. And it's that natural tendency to be able to want to be able to do it in the easiest way possible because that's how our brain works. It's like, what's the easiest pathway? But at the same time, if we don't follow the pathway that is required, we don't get the result.
Yeah, and if you don't have the and it's funny you say that. Someone I know asked me one day because I love my AI and I love my chat and all that. And, you know, that whole thing where everyone's going to ChatGPT to how do I make $1 million? And it's that, like, well, you work hard. At the end of the day, it requires work. And, you know, I think that whole thing on social media when we see all these successful people and you know, some of them may be successful. I know a lot out there that look good, but maybe not so. And people just assume you know that, I love that, the iceberg, where they're just seeing the tip.
Yeah.
And underneath that is a hell of a lot of work, luck. You know, luck for some people in business, like I go, they were just lucky they were at the right place at the right time, let's be honest. Because, you know, a couple of people I know, I go, you're not even really that good at business. But anyway, you were at the right time, right place. So I think that comparison is the thief of joy. If we're comparing ourselves to other people, thinking it's easy, we're going to get a very big shock.
Yeah. Yeah. I just sent my dad the book, The Surrender Experiment. Have you read that before?
No, I haven't read that one.
So it's basically this guy, he meditated in the woods and stuff like that. And then he just kind of follows the threads of like letting go in life and surrendering and letting go of the resistance that comes up for him. And he, you know, eventually creates like $1 billion company because he just keeps following the things that make absolutely no sense. Work is like nothing. It's just like the next logical thing to be able to work through because you keep taking these actions. And he's like, oh, I was in this store one time and there was a computer there and I just felt compelled to buy it. And, you know, then fast forward 40 years down the track, he's got $1 billion software company. And people, I feel people get those lucky experiences fed to them all of the time, but they're not, they're too busy resisting what is to be able to receive those things.
Yeah.
And it's this dance of us starting to be so open and receptive to what's there, to be able to see what is there, to be able to see it for its wholeness, so that we can start to actually utilize that and then actually get the luck that is available to us. Because if we're too busy in resistance to what is, the resistance to how the world is, what our bank account is, how our parents were, how they weren't, all of those things just take us out of being in the experience and letting go to life and letting that life flow through us. And the more that we let that flow through us, the more that we start to recognize the luck that is already there. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's probably where I've got to through all these things that have happened, more so probably since I've been sober and in business. Again, like I think when I was trying to do everything, the hustle culture and all of that, and I go like the more I just let go and go, okay, is this and enjoy it. And I think that's it. Like even with exercise, enjoy the journey of it. Don't just wait for the result. I think everyone's result orientated, so they're not happy till they get the result. And I go, when you start enjoying every little bit of it, not every little bit, because some bits are really shitty and not enjoyable, but you know, enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, then be open to, well, that's sending me off here then. That's what I always say when things don't work out. I always sort of go, oh, the universe has just given me a big hard no on that journey. Let's go off this way.
Yeah. And I think that probably the primary issue that most people face with that is they have the argument with time. It's like the timing of things. Oh, I want $1 million business today. And then when I didn't get it today, then I'm in arguing with the time dynamic of it as well. Or I remember this time where I had, I went to Wurstburger at Kingscliff.
Oh, yeah, I know the one. Yeah.
And you'd think I would have learned by the name, but I didn't. And I ended up getting like violent diarrhea for like the next 3 days when I'm like on holidays. We had this Airbnb overlooking the water down there. And the entire time I'm just like, I just want this to be over. And it took me days to recognize how in argument I was with what was in front of me. Was it enjoyable? Fuck no. It was painful. I tried to sleep and I had to sleep. I had to be curled up like this and have pillows all around me just so that I could get to a place where I wasn't fully in pain, and I'd get like 20 minutes, half an hour sleep before I'd, am vomiting and diarrhea again. And it was this real eye-opening experience for me to actually start to go, well, yeah, I can let go and for all of the things that are amazing in life, but am I doing it for the other pieces too? The pieces that kind of get caught in me and jagged in my system that I resist because of the pain. Because, if you go to the gym, what are you doing? You're putting yourself in pain so that you get stronger. And in the resistance of the resistance that is being put on you in the gym, you actually do less work. But when you embrace the resistance as the rep that it is, the repetition that it is, the thing that is being reflected back to you in that moment, then everything starts to get easier because it becomes who you are rather than I'm doing it for a specific result of how I look or how I feel or the end goal of doing the triathlon or whatever it is. And most people miss that dynamic of how it all starts with that level of resistance that we have to it. And when we can do, as you say, like let go with that and actually be with it, everything just starts to open up for us. It becomes this unending, perpetuating experience of recognizing the perfection of every single person that you come in contact with.
And that's what I said. Like, and then people are like, I know I've always, because I do a lot of the last 4 years, I was doing a lot of work down at the homeless centre, right? And I used to run these wellness workshops, and they're hilarious, you know. But I would have people out of jail, about to go to jail, mental health, domestic violence, all in this room at one time. So it used to get a bit rowdy. But John, I absolutely loved that. They were my favourite time of the week because every one of those people, in all their little dysfunctions, had just the most beautiful qualities of humanity as well. And, you know, and because, again, people who are in trauma sometimes require a lot more trust. So there are a couple of them, one who took me months to develop any type of, I think before she'd even look at me. But, you know, after 12 months, like, we're like besties. But just to see people who really are struggling and treat them as humans, you know, and allow them just to be who they are. And that's where I go, like, even people I don't like fascinate me. And I go, like, we just are.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we don't recognize how much we actually do it. We don't recognize how much we actually dehumanize people. As soon as we start to just label people, even as we label that person as an addict or that person as that thing, on some level we diminish them as a human because we're creating this label which goes over the top of them, and we don't recognize how much we do it. We don't recognize that any time that what's this book called? It's called The Anatomy of Peace. It's talking about this entire concept of how as soon as we see someone as an object, we no longer see them. We just see them as the object or the label that we've given them, which means they're no longer a human. And when they're no longer a human, then we can no longer actually see them for their humanity, meaning that all that we can do is we can only try and overpower them or manipulate them. And this innate nature of us and our humanity is what separates us from everything else. And the more that we diminish and deny that for people, the more that we actually take us away from what is our nature, and the more that we can actually start to embrace and see people for their humanness, their imperfections and how perfect their imperfections are, the more that we can actually start to see other people, but also see ourselves and recognizing each of the pieces that they're reflecting back to us, which is available in us. So it's this...
Yeah, and I think we live, like I said, in such an interesting world at the moment too. You know, and there's so much of that us and them stuff. And fine, like, and I'm all for, don't get me wrong, I'm all for boundaries. I'm all for boundaries around people who I don't want in my life, or, you know, have that energy. So, like, I'm all for that. But you can still stay in your lane and let them do whatever they want to do without bringing negative to your life, because then it's just negative. Then that's the whole thing, I guess. It's when you're, like you said, reflection of you, because if you're judging someone else, even the worst of the worst, if you're judging someone else, there's still something that's reflecting in you that either you don't like about yourself. That's what they often say. If you don't like someone, try and find what it is about yourself you don't actually like that you see in them.
Yeah.
Which is really hardcore to do when someone's, you know, pretty horrible. And then there's just horrible people as well. But I think, just if there was just a little bit more tolerance as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect thing to wrap up on for today. What's the best way for people to find you?
You can find me on my Instagram, Caroline Bellenger Official, and Facebook, Caroline Bellenger Official, or my website, carolinebellenger.com.
Epic. This has been fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.